Xiaomi has entered the flip phone business with its new Xiaomi Mix Flip. This is their debut flip phone, so how good is it, and is it worthy competition for the likes of Samsung or Moto? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our Xiaomi Mix Flip review. So far, the global market for foldable flip phones has been pretty much dominated by Samsung's Z Flip and Motorola's Razr, but now enter Xiaomi's Mix Flip. The design is what you'd expect from a flip foldable. You get a normal-ish looking smartphone, which you can fold over into a compact square shape, and while folded you can still use it via the outer cover screen. Even though it's a first-generation product, the Mix Flip doesn't seem behind what's already on the market. Its cover screen is edge-to-edge, plus it brings a large battery and the latest flagship chipset. And with its Leica-branded cameras, it should be able to put out some nice photos and videos. Let's go over the design a bit more. The back panels have rounded edges, which means that when unfolded the back isn't flat, but has a bit of an M shape. While the outer display is protected by scratch-resistant Dragon Crystal glass, the other matte black panel uses an unspecified glass, and we did get a scratch on it on day one, at least on the finish. The frame of the phone is flat and made of polished aluminum. With this glossy surface it collects smudges pretty easily. And the hinge of the phone is thin and made of stainless steel, and has a subtle Leica insignia. The mechanism supports all sorts of angles between 45 and 135 degrees, handy for something like vlogging. There is something missing in this design, and that is ingress protection, which the rivals do have. As far as we know, the global version of the Mix Flip is lacking any official protection against water or dust. Let's go over the Mix Flip's external display. It's a 4-inch OLED panel with a pixel density of 460 ppi and a 120Hz refresh rate. There's even support for 12-bit color. Like on the Moto Razr, it's edge-to-edge with cutouts for the cameras. It provides plenty of functionality too. You can access your quick toggle settings as well as notifications from here. Widgets can reside in the space next to the cameras, and they include weather, clock, calendar, health, and music. There's also app support on the outer screen, but from a selection of compatible apps. These include important ones like the phone, camera, Chrome, and messages. It's quite nice to take selfies while the phone is closed. You get a viewfinder to frame yourself while you shoot with the rear cameras for excellent selfie quality. And YouTube is supported here too, if you wanted to watch a tiny version of your videos. Moving on to the inner screen, it's a foldable 6.86-inch OLED with a 22:9 aspect ratio and a 120Hz refresh rate. This screen again brings a sharp pixel density of 460 ppi, and it supports 10-bit color, HDR10 Plus video, and Dolby Vision. And although there is a crease where the phone folds over, for the most part it isn't too distracting. The screen's 120Hz refresh rate smooths out your swiping and scrolling, and thanks to LTPO tech, it can dial down when you stop interacting with it to as low as 1 Hz to save some energy. And the brightness is respectable on both the inner display and the outer display. They're both in about the same ballpark. We measured 740 nits or more maximum with the manual slider, and this can boost to over 1300 nits in auto mode when needed in bright conditions. For audio, the Mix Flip has a pair of stereo speakers with good loudness. The sound quality is very good, there's enough bass, the vocals are great, and the highs are nice too. For biometrics, there's a side-mounted fingerprint reader built into the power button. It's very responsive. And you can get the Mix Flip with 256 or 512 gigs of storage on board, or a terabyte. That's not expandable through microSD. The interface of the Mix Flip is Xiaomi's HyperOS, based on Android 14. It's the same interface you'd find on any recent Xiaomi phone. If you'd like to find out more about HyperOS, you can check out our dedicated video. There is an IR blaster on board the Mix Flip, so you can use it to control other devices with. And as for specific foldable features, there is a flip mode, which splits the UI when the phone is halfway folded to make better use of the two halves of the screen. We only found this to happen within the camera and YouTube though. Just like most of this year's Android flagships, the Xiaomi Mix Flip is powered by Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. As expected, in benchmarks, the peak performance here is excellent, every bit flagship grade. It's only slightly bested by the Galaxy Z Flip 6 in CPU tests, since the Galaxy's chipset is a special overclocked version. Regardless, the Mix Flip has plenty of power, in principle, to handle anything you throw at it. I say in principle because another important factor is the thermal management, and that's where the Mix Flip falls behind other flagships with a regular form factor. In our prolonged CPU stress test, the Mix Flip underwent heavy thermal throttling, dipping down to around 60% of max CPU performance. The GPU stability is even worse. During the graphics stress test, the phone actually overheated after 5 minutes, ending the test completely. While everyday apps don't cause issues, we did notice some performance drops in games, so this is not a phone for a heavy gamer. At 4,780 mAh, the Mix Flip's battery capacity is one of the largest of any flip phone so far. In our battery life test, the phone earned an active use score of nearly 12 hours, with solid scores for web browsing, video streaming, and gaming. And unlike many manufacturers, Xiaomi supplies a power adapter with its phones. The Mix Flip comes with a 67-watt one in the box. With it, we were able to charge the phone from 0 to 68% in half an hour, and a full charge took 52 minutes. And now the cameras. There's a 50-megapixel main cam, and that's paired with a 2x telephoto cam with a floating lens that allows close-ups. Its sensor is 60 megapixels, but Xiaomi's only using 50 megapixels out of it. The main camera takes top-notch photos during the day. They have excellent detail, high contrast, wide dynamic range, and lively, accurate colors. Plus, the performance is consistently solid, both outdoors and indoors. You can shoot in the default Leica Vivid color mode or switch to Leica Authentic. With this, you get vignetting, even higher contrast, and slightly muted colors, which are truer to life. At night, the main cam can use automatic night mode processing. The nighttime photos are excellent. They're well exposed with plenty of detail, wide dynamic range, great looking colors, and low noise, if any. Moving on to the telephoto camera. The photos come out at 12.5 megapixels, just as on the main cam. The photos we took look very detailed and natural, with wide dynamic range and likable colors. They also have a naturally shallow depth of field, with out-of-focus areas being very apparent. And thanks to the floating lens, you can use the zoom camera for close-ups too. They're lovely, sharp, detailed, and colorful, with excellent looking bokeh. There's also 4x hybrid zoom, which uses some level of cropping and upscaling. They're not as detailed, but they do look sharp enough, with low noise, wide dynamic range, and consistent colors. In low light, the zoom camera's photos come out a bit softer. Still, it does a solid job. You can shoot selfies with the 32-megapixel selfie camera embedded in the inner screen. Its 8-megapixel images are soft, but have good exposure, contrast, and dynamic range. But why would you use that camera if you can just use the main cameras to shoot yourself? You can either snap square photos or opt for a different aspect ratio. The results from the main camera are excellent. The photos are high in detail, with no noise. There's lively colors and wide dynamic range. And there's natural bokeh too. You don't even need portrait mode. You can record videos in 8K with the main camera, and all cameras support 4K video capture. The video quality is excellent. Both the primary and telephoto cameras shoot flagship-grade daylight videos, with superb detail, balanced sharpness, and an overall natural look. There's no noise, and you get accurate colors and wide dynamic range. Electronic stabilization is always working across all video modes, resolutions, and frame rates, and it does a great job. And the main cam's low-light videos are decent. There's enough detail, the noise is tolerable, and the dynamic range is alright. So that's the Xiaomi Mix Flip. Xiaomi did a great job with their first flip phone. There's a great design, a high-end cover screen with great functionality, a bundled charger, and good battery life. And the camera performance is excellent here. The main downsides are the lack of ingress protection and the heavy thermal throttling during gameplay. But if you're careful with the phone and you aren't into heavy gaming, then this is a flip foldable really worth considering. Thanks for watching, guys. Here are a couple of alternatives to check out: the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 6 and the Motorola Razr 50 Ultra. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.